Hello my loves, I am back to tell you some spooky stories that I have found on the subreddit r/paranormal. I also have my own subreddit r/spookssubmissions that anyone can post in to have their stories read here. Let's get into the stories. Our first story is titled, Weird Knocking Under My Floor. I have been experiencing weird knocking and banging coming from under my house, in a certain room in which I sleep. It started happening when I turned the porch into a regular room. There's a specific area in which the knocking and banging began. It happens at regular times, but is almost every day. I tried to find a link to these disturbed banging and knocking, but I can't seem to find it. I thought it'd be an animal that got stuck under my house, but it's been 3 years. The animal should have died by now if it was stuck. There's no way to get in or out. At first it started with banging, then over the course of the years, it became knocking. These knocking sounds are like knocking on a door sound type. It creeps me out when I'm about to head to sleep. The knocking or banging starts for 5 seconds and then it stops. But sometimes it likes to do it twice in the same day, afternoon, or night. Any advice? That is so weird. Do you have any pipes or a crawl space that could be making the noise? I hope it's not a creature, but I also hope it's not your pipes going bad. Our next story is titled, The Lady in Black. I'm not sure where it began, but my mother told me it started when I was 2. I would draw disturbing things and I'd tell her what I would see. I saw a ghost, I guess? My mom would look into the things I would tell her I saw, and it turned out someone with that description died in that place. Over time, my sleep paralysis has gotten worse. One thing I keep seeing throughout my teen years was the woman in black. She had long black hair, pale skin, and a dress. She looked like she was in water for a long time. Unfortunately, some people around me have dreams of her. I have never told them anything prior. Every time she appears, or if I heard her voice, things got easier when I became an adult. Last time I saw her, I was pregnant. I had sleep paralysis and saw her next to my bed. For the first time ever, I saw her face, staring at me, humming. She had beautiful big eyes, pale skin, her long black hair to her sides. She had stared at me. Her mouth began to open, wider and wider, as she grew closer to me. I tried to rebuke her, but when I got up, she was gone. Not long after that, I found out I lost my baby. It was during that time my body didn't process that I miscarried till weeks after. I do have dreams that come true. Before the miscarriage, I dreamed that I was growing 2 trees. My current was deformed, but the tree next to it was strong and healthy. The next day, I lost the baby. Turns out she was abnormal. A month later, I got pregnant again to a healthy baby. Not sure why I experienced these things. Can anyone relate? Forgot to mention I was born dead. The doctors had to give me adrenaline to wake me up. Not sure if that plays into it. I'm sorry, how does someone end off their story with, oh, by the way, I was born dead? That's terrifying, and I'm so sorry you went through that. That's so rough. But seriously, how do you end a story like that? What? Our next story is titled, Heard a Voice in Our Childhood Room. Literally now, freaking out. So I'm staying at my mother's house, and out of all the rooms, there is one room I've always had a problem sleeping in. I've had many sleep paralysis attacks, and at one point, I even heard a whistle coming from the closet after reading my Bible that night. My aunt was also staying with us at the time and did a ton of witchcraft. It happened 7 to 8 years ago. Fast forward to 2025 when I stayed over in that same room. The first night I had sleep paralysis and I felt this heavy presence behind me. I rebuke it. The next day didn't help. I sleep in another room, no issues. I also noticed that my mom had been practicing witchcraft stuff around the house. I prayed over the room and decided, hey, I'm going to sleep there tonight. I woke up to use the restroom and I went back to the room and decided to stay up because I got pregnancy insomnia. I felt a weird presence but brushed it off. I then heard someone shushing in the room. I ignored it and thought it was the fan. And then I heard it again, clear as day, louder, as if someone was behind me. I screamed and rebuked it, and it stopped. Needless to say, I noped out of that room. That room has a presence. It doesn't help that I lost my first baby when I stayed in that room in 2024. I'm downstairs now, and I can't comprehend what I just heard. I'm very sensitive to spiritual stuff. I haven't had attacks while pregnant until now. I was wide awake as well. It sounds like you and your mom were both trying to deal with whatever was in the house and that room. I hope you have a normal and happy rest of your pregnancy, though. Our next story is something woke my entire family up. I didn't know what to put for the title because I accidentally deleted my last post. This time, I'm just going to list my experiences. Pretty short and simple, but I'll definitely give details if anybody asks. It looks long, but it's not. Please help. Experience 1. I can't remember how old I was, maybe 9? I was sleeping in my room with my dog, and all of a sudden, we both woke up at the same time and looked at the same corner. My dog started growling at the corner, and I freaked the heck out, and I ran to my parents' room. Experience 2. I was getting dressed in the morning to go to school, and I heard a sigh. It was in the corner of the room where my door was. Again, scared as crud, I ran out and started crying to my mom. Experience 3. I used to share a room with my sister. At some point, for a week straight, I would wake up around 1 to 3 a.m. and be very scared, like I could sense something. I had a bed tent that covered my whole bed because of this. The one that you can store under your bed and it has little curtains. I would hear footsteps outside of the tent. At some point, I heard a sigh behind my door again. Experience 4. I was laying on a futon in the guest bedroom watching TV with my cat, when all of a sudden, there's a scratch at the bottom of the futon. I was very confused, so I looked over at my cat, and she was reacting to it too. I was fed up at this point of all of the crud that's going on, so I slammed the futon with my fist, and it stopped. Experience 5, the title. It was 1 in the morning, and I was playing a game with my headphones on. When I was in the hallway, a moan or groan loud enough to wake up my entire family started up. My dad thought I was having trouble breathing, so he leaped up and ran to my bedroom to see what was wrong. But I thought my mom was having trouble breathing. I thought she was in the living room, but my dad, mom, and dog were all sleeping in their room. It sounded human, so my dad checked all the rooms, but nothing was there. Experience 6. I'm in the kitchen on my phone, snacking, and something sighs in my ear. Experience 7. Originally, I was going to spend the night at my boyfriend's house, but we had gotten into an argument, so I went home. When I got home, I was in my room, texting in the dark, when suddenly, I'm aware of a presence. In that same moment, it freaking sighed in my ear again. Loud as heck, heart racing now, I walked out and called my dog into my room and laid down. Experience 8. Literally the same night, I'm on the phone in my bed with my dog, and I heard a light switch go off. Before I went into my room, I made sure all of the lights were turned off. So I'm sitting on my bed thinking, no freaking way. I didn't want to get up and check, but at some point, I wanted to get some water, and what do you know? The kitchen light was on, so I can't tell what it is. I don't want to believe it's real, but my entire family has experiences like this. If it is something, I think these factors might play a role. My house is very old, my mom is an alcoholic, maybe something I thrifted? It's winter. I think some of us are depressed. If you guys do think it's something, please tell me what I can do to get rid of it. If you are looking to get rid of spirits, you can burn some incense and smoke cleanse the place. I suggest frankincense or sandalwood. Our next story is titled Ghost in Girlfriend's House. Figured I'd get on here and see what you guys think. I wouldn't consider myself a huge paranormal believer, but I've had a few strange things happen to me, but nothing this blatant. My girlfriend, her mom, and I all started this new show called Servants recently. Show doesn't really matter, just thought I'd give all the details. Her mom was sitting on the couch with her back to this big window right next to the front door. Me and my girlfriend were sitting perpendicular to it, with the window to our right. We had the curtains closed, and it was about 10:30 p.m. when this happened. While we're watching the show, my girlfriend and I at the same time see a shadow of a man go across the window, as if someone was walking up to the front door. Her dogs start going ballistic, growling and barking aggressively at the front door, which they only ever do if someone's there. We both looked at each other at the same time in confusion. as no one should have been coming to the front door that late, especially a man with features we didn't recognize. I got up to check out of the window and saw there was absolutely no one there. My girlfriend and I are a little more freaked out now, and so her mom is off put as well. She went to check the Ring camera app, but found absolutely nothing. No motion detected, no recording taken, nothing. Now we're starting to feel a little bit scared, and we finally muster up the courage to open the door and check outside. There was fresh snow on the ground, so anybody who had come up would have left footprints. There was absolutely nothing. Not a single disturbance in the snow leading up to the door. Her dog's still very on edge and alert, staring at the door while we were looking outside. We finally managed to calm ourselves down. Right as we went to continue watching the show, a bunch of stuff in their pantry room clattered to the ground. Some of it was towards the back of the counter, and none of us were moving enough to knock anything off the edge. The dogs were still with us as well. Since then, she's had some very odd things happen. Lights flickering sporadically. Her gas stove randomly got turned on at some point and was leaking gas. Electronics, like her brother's hoverboard, randomly shutting off and then powering back up. Her dogs have been very on edge and would still randomly run and start barking at the front door, which they only do if someone's there. Anybody have any idea what this could be? I couldn't come up with a rational explanation. TLDR, my girlfriend and I saw a shadow out of her window, but no evidence of anybody, and now strange things have been happening around the house. It sounds like if this has only just started happening, then maybe someone brought something into the house that had something attached to it. Maybe talk to her family if they have thrifted anything recently, but that is so creepy. Our next story is titled Surprised Ghost. Has anyone ever had a ghost be surprised to see that you saw it? I was sleeping on the couch in my parents' living room a few years ago. Upon waking up, I saw the top half of a ghostly figure floating across the room. It turned its head and looked at me, and then literally dropped its jaw in shock. We sat there staring at one another for around 5 seconds, as I was also shocked, until I finally got up and ran upstairs. Its face and body was almost see-through. All I could make out were the eyes and a mouth that was normal looking until we locked eyes. That's when the mouth dropped, like a scream mask, and looked literally spooked to see me. I haven't seen anything like it ever again, and I visit my parents' house frequently. That's honestly really funny. You spooked the ghost and it acted like it got caught red-handed. That's so funny. I love that. Our next story is Tame Encounter at Work. The place I work has a common joke that the place is haunted, and none of us believe it. Some of my coworkers didn't even believe in spirits, but the building itself is at least 50 years old. Last time I was at work before today, I was focused on working when I felt something touch my shoulder. I was alone in my department and it was a slow day, so there were no customers in sight. I assumed it was a weird nerve quirk where my body just decided to feel things that didn't exist, so I brushed it off. But then today, I was back at work focused on cleaning something when I heard my name. I looked up and there was once again not a customer in sight, nor were any of my direct coworkers even in the building. I didn't think of myself as a particularly paranoid person usually, and I haven't even watched anything horror related recently, so I have no explanation. So it kind of sounds like something wants your attention. Please keep me updated if anything more happens, or if anything happens to your coworkers. I'm really interested in this story and how it's going to progress. Our next story is titled, Am I Going Crazy or... This isn't the first time this has happened to me. This is the third instance I can recall. I usually ignore it and just pretend it didn't happen, and chalk it up to lack of sleep. But anyway, my family has an annual tradition of building a blanket fort after Thanksgiving dinner, and we all sleep in it that night. As we are building it, I hear what sounded like my eldest daughter calling me from upstairs. Mommy. I have 2 daughters, 7 and 2. They were both sitting right in front of me when this happened. My head shot up and looked at my husband and said, "Did you hear that?" And then I looked at my eldest and asked her, "Did you hear that?" They both said no and looked so confused. I know a little about mimics, but how come I'm the only one that ever hears it? Am I going crazy? So most of the time, moms are normally more tuned in to when a kid is trying to get their attention, so it could just be a paternal instinct that only you heard it, but definitely sounds like a mimic trying to get you to go upstairs. Our next story is, I think I saw a ghost while helping my mate move houses. So this did happen a couple years ago, but I think it's interesting experience, so here you go. I was helping my best mate move across the country. It was a big move for him and for me. It was also a good excuse to go for a drive and camp for a couple days. Anyway, it's day 3 at this point. We're both in convoy and kitted out UTEs, so we have comms between us. I believe we had to pass through a small town headed towards, I'm going to have the name on the screen because I can't pronounce that. It's a road work area and it's very isolated. We're driving and we see this bloke about 70 just walking along the side of the road. He's dressed sort of like Brooks from Shawshank Redemption, just walking in this isolated area between 2 small towns in bushland. I radio my mate and we both agree to stop and see if he's okay, but by the time we pulled over and got out of the car, he's gone. Just disappeared. That's it. We saw it. We were confused. We still bring it up with confusion over a beer every so often. Oh, that's so creepy. Both of you guys saw it? Like, you both saw it, right? That's so weird. And the dude just disappearing? Oh, that's weird. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to all the people who have let me read their stories here. Remember to like the video and comment and follow me if you want to see more. Please tell me what the spookiest thing that has happened to you is. If you want me to read your story in my next video, please post it on my Reddit r/SpooksSubmissions. I post every Saturday at 12 and I go live on Twitch on Friday and Saturday from 6 to 9 p.m. My Twitch VODs will also be posted here after the stream. I play creepy and cozy games and do scary watch parties. I will see you in my next video. Good night, Pumpkin.